Work on yourself. Improve yourself. That is what everyone is talking about, right? But what does that actually mean, and how do I work on myself? Welcome to today's episode. My name is Robert, and today we talk about a simple process for self-improvement. Actually, to be honest, I don't like the term self-improvement very much because it presupposes that there is something wrong with us and we somehow need to change. Instead of having to change, I suggest two specific goals in self-work. First of all, to get closer to oneself and thus become a truly authentic person who can be oneself. And second, learning how to deal with fears and blockages or dissolving them completely. And I know, this approach might be completely different from the classical ones, like what goals do I want to achieve or where do I want to be in 5 years, etc. But instead of focusing on the goals on the outside, we stay with ourselves in the inside and build a solid foundation. The things on the outside, they will arise by themselves as a consequence. I have developed a simple process on this basis in the past years to truly live a way that feels completely authentic and natural to me. So it's really simple. I have created a template that shows me the 4 main areas of life as circles that overlap each other. Self-worth or self-love, however you want to call it, is at the center of the overlap. If you watch this now on YouTube, you will see how it looks. If you listen to it while driving, you can also come back to the video on YouTube or Spotify later. So the whole thing actually looks like this. You have the 4 circles in 4 different colors. So I use the free tool Miro here to display it as a digital board. There's also an app where you can just have a look at your phone and edit it. So definitely recommend if you want to do it. You can also draw it by hand and work with sticky notes. Miro has the options to work with sticky notes and text as well, because we will edit the board. If you do that by hand, you can just paint the circles on a huge poster, color them, and then glue the sticky notes on them. That's how I used to do it a couple years ago, and I did it on my wardrobe in my first apartment. Definitely keep in mind, however, that you ideally will be working with the board several times a week or even every day, and you will be adjusting notes and pictures. And this is why I do it digitally, because I can open it in the Miro app as well on my phone, edit it whenever I need it, especially like in difficult, for example, situations when emotions come up you want to deal with. Let's start at the center, and this area here I usually call self-worth or self-love area. And honestly, I don't like the term self-love here, again, because it has been used too inflationary, but what I mean by it is the feeling of being calm, safe, and grounded within yourself. So then we have the 4 circles, which are like the basis. Every circle displays one area of your life. You can also change colors if you feel like a different color is more appealing, obviously, so feel free to completely adapt it and align it to your specific needs. To me, the green circle is the circle of health. So what I put in here are health-related topics, sticky notes, pictures. We will do that later in the next step, but to explain, green is health, so fitness, mental health, and nutrition. Then we have the blue circle, which is relationships, partner, family, and friends. The red circle is the career circle, finances, job, entrepreneurship. And the yellow circle is the circle of personality, which is for me happiness, success, and spirituality. If you feel that you may have even more very important main areas of your life, you can add more circles, of course. To me, 4 circles felt the most appealing, and I could categorize my main areas of life in these 4 circles. But it's still just a concept. I want to make that clear. It's not an absolute theory or solution here, so you can adapt it to your personal needs and preferences. So when you set up this board on a poster or in the Miro app or whatever application or tool you're using, we can now start to work on the actual self-work process. To do so, we work with images and words to engage with the whole brain. So as you might know, the left side of the brain works more analytically, so the written word passes into our unconscious via beliefs here, and the right side of the brain works more emotionally and visually. So the images that we will use here are then linked to the beliefs. Now let's get started. First of all, you need a first personal topic that you want to work on. And usually these topics come up during different situations in your life. For example, in daily life, when you're at work, when you're with your partner, when you're with friends, with your family, whoever. When a difficult situation come up, then you can sit down and put a note here. Really important. Whenever you feel like you want to actually work on something, create that space for yourself, sit down and actually start writing that situation down. Really important, you focus on one challenge at a time. So if you feel like you have multiple challenges to deal with in your daily life, that's totally fine, but just work on them one by one. So an example, in your everyday life, you find that you're often reserved when, for example, interacting and communicating with other people. That leads to, at work, you are therefore afraid to express your opinions and ideas, even though you actually believe that they are really good, really beneficial and helpful for the project you're working on. But you just don't dare to voice your suggestions. At some point in life, you may have learned for yourself that it's better to hold back and not speak out your mind. Maybe you learned in childhood that you were quick to be too much for others, or you were loudly talked out of it by your parents that your opinions and needs were inappropriate. To find out these things, you can also listen to episode 139, How to Uncover and Transform Unhealthy Mental Patterns, with this exercise. I link it to you up here or in the description of this episode. A new positive belief set as a counterpart to I'm not allowed to speak my opinion, or nobody wants to hear my opinion, or my opinion is unimportant, is needed here. And this is what we actually want to work on. So it could sound something like your opinion is just valuable and important as anyone else. So your new belief could sound like my opinion is important. My opinion is helpful. Other people want to hear my opinion. So this topic falls into the area of relationship and personality. So the overlap of the yellow-blue one. So if you identify these kind of belief systems already, you can now start to work on them. So to do so, I put a sticky note here. Let's take a green one. So then in the first step, you can put the new belief in here. For example, my opinion is important. This is the new belief you want to address, right? We can also add the other ones we found out. My opinion is helpful. Maybe that's another one. Or other people want to hear my opinion. It's also really helpful if you have a friend who really values your opinion and ideas, and you put his note down. If he's or she's saying your ideas are always pretty good, even if he's or she's the only one saying that, you can put that note here, like reminding him or her. By putting down the new actual belief system we want to address here, now we have served the left half of the brain, including the course research, and now we continue with the right half of the brain. So in step 2, I personally pick out a picture of someone who I admire for exactly that topic. So this can be a friend, this could be a parent, a well-known personality, or even a fictional character, maybe even your pet. Sometimes you also can just use gestures like the image of a hand on the shoulder, or just a hug, just anything basically visual that can have a symbolic meaning for you in that context. Who can you think of in this example who managed to communicate his or her opinion and to whom other people listen and appreciate him precisely for communicating his opinion? So this is still the example, but maybe in this example you have a super charismatic uncle who communicates his opinion politely but confidently. So I put an example photo now of someone who could be that super charismatic uncle. So this guy here looks quite charismatic. And I just put the photo next to the actual new belief system. Now we're almost done, but the most important step is still to come. So the third step is now the emotional connection and the daily repetition of it. Every morning and every evening, you can go back to that board, like as often as you feel to, especially like in situations, for example, now in this example at work, when you feel like, oh, now it's important to communicate my opinion, to communicate my ideas. You can go back to the board in your break and then try to go through your new belief system here and picturing that helpful image of your super charismatic uncle who is able to perfectly communicate his ideas and where people value him for doing that. And then there is the actual emotional connection you have to create here over and over and over again to actually change that belief system. And that is to question, how does it actually feel like to be that charismatic uncle who confidently speaks his mind? That's the question you have to ask, but addressing it emotionally. How does it actually feel like to be this uncle? How does it feel like to be with this uncle? How does it feel like if you react being that charismatic person? How will the others react? They will react positively to my ideas now, to my opinions now, because I'm becoming this charismatic uncle, and you can really feel it. At some point, you can really emotionally feel how it actually feels like being that person who has a valuable opinion. While imagining and sensing how it feels like to be that uncle, you can repeat in your head the new belief, my opinion matters, my opinion is important, other people want to hear my opinion. What happens here if you repeat these 3 steps for all your challenges, and you will discover probably many. Like my board is full. I have like tons of challenges and topics I'm actually dealing with, but I do that every day, again and again and again. And over time, you create new pathways in your brain and manifest these new beliefs in your head. You have to, and this is like me being completely honest here, you have to be very patient with it. Because after all, how many years has your whole nervous system learned that your opinion is not valuable? Probably for decades, you deeply installed that and also got the feedback from your environment, from other people. So you cannot expect that it does change from today to tomorrow, but you can expect it that it can change over time if you repeat these new belief systems and try to integrate them to create new pathways in your brain. And then it actually manifests over time because you also get the feedback from your environment, from other people. Maybe here in this example, from your work. What do you think about this whole process of actually working on yourself, of actual self-improvement, of challenges you're dealing with? I'm pretty curious here. Please let me know in the comments. Also, check out the book list in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast here on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you listen. I see and speak to you in the next episode. Have a great day.